What's up, nerds? My name is Cory Bergeron. You're watching Cory Bergeron Recordings, and we're back with a brand new video. Today's video, I'm going to break down my vocal editing process, and you are going to learn how to edit vocals like a pro. For me, there are three big things when it comes to vocal editing. One is the cleanup, eliminating unwanted breaths or mouth noises or just like headphone bleed that's in the track. Also, you have the time aligning, which is important to make all the vocals play nicely together and make sure that they're all in time. And then also we have the vocal tuning. This is going to be a two-part little video series. So in this first video, I'm just going to touch on the cleanup and the time aligning, and then in the next video, I'm going to be talking about vocal tuning. It's important to note that if you have any questions about anything in this video, please leave them in the comment section down below and I will address them in the next video, okay? Any questions, comment them down below, I will address them. Also, make sure that you're subscribed and turn on those notifications so you get a notification when I post the second part to this video series here. So I'm going to jump into a Pro Tools session and show you how I edit vocals to get them ready for mixing. But first, if you plan on releasing music anytime soon, I recommend using the service DistroKid. DistroKid is a service that allows you to get your music on all the major online streaming platforms. That includes Spotify, Apple Music, and 150 plus other places. For just a low annual fee, you can upload as much music as you want. You get to keep 100% of your royalties. So if you plan to sign up, consider using my link www.distrokid.com/whatsupnerds, and you will save 7% when you sign up. You save money, it supports the channel, it's a good thing. Vocal editing. Alright, so in front of me, I have a Pro Tools session here, and let me break down what we're looking at. So first of all, this is a song by the band Rocket Ship. I recorded this over a year ago. We did over 1,200 vocal takes. You can see here that this is take 1,247, and we did that over the course of a week, and we were recording 5 songs. So my cleanup job on this after tracking was not the most stellar work because it was a lot of like, let's get the take and move forward. The more experience you have working on vocals and editing vocals, you know when you have the take and you can just kind of move forward. So if I had more time, I'd be cleaning up as I go, but in this case I didn't, which allows me to show you how I go about cleaning stuff up. Now I've already gone through and tuned these vocals and the song's already been released, but I was able to access the point at which we had just finished tracking the vocals. I haven't cleaned anything up, which is great for this application because I can show you how I would go about doing that. As you can see, we have some main vocals up here, some harmonies, some ad-libs, some octave vocals. We actually have another singer. We have a female named Megan that sang on the track. She's got an incredible voice. So we have 2 singers in here, and then we have a bunch of gang vocals that we can address as well. So altogether, as it currently stands, it sounds like this.
Tail side up. How many times we gotta break until we bend? Break till we bend. This ain't love. She said I never wanna see you again.
Alright, so that is the track. Pretty cool track, lots of vocals. It sounds nice already. Just to show you, I have a little bit of EQ and I have some compression on the tracks. This is just for playback, and the reason why I have them slotted in the 3rd and 4th slot instead of the 1st and 2nd will be clear later. That's just to get playback listenable and being able to hear all the nuances in the takes. So let's take a look here at the main vocals, and that's these guys here. And if I hold down Shift and Option and scroll, you can see that there's a bunch of junk in these tracks. Now, it might sound like there's not a lot going on there. There's just a bit of headphone bleed and, you know, a mouth noise or maybe a footstep. This stuff will occupy room in your mix. You want to eliminate this stuff. Over the years, I've been sent tons of projects to mix, and this is usually a step that's overlooked. I'll be sent project files that have tons of noise like this that's in there, and then I have to go through and clean it up. It's not fun. So make sure that you are cleaning up your vocals. You can do it while tracking. Once you've landed on the take that you know you're going to use, clean it up. Let's clean up these vocals. There really isn't too much to this. I have these grouped. Let's just can a bunch of this junk at first, and then we'll go through and we'll listen. Okay, so this is where the breath really ramps up. So I'm going to just throw a big kind of general fade. Sounds natural to me like that. Cool. I'm not going to think twice. That works for me. And let's throw a fade over here. Cool. Perfect.
And she said
Cool. So that works for me. There's a little bit of a mouth noise in the supporting take down here. I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to make more sense later. But this works. And let's just throw a fade at the end here. And we're going to just pull this in nice and tight. Alright, now we're just going to listen to this track.
How many times we gotta break until we bend? And she said I never wanna see you again till we bend.
Just making sure there's no D at the end of bend here.
We've been.
Cool. All right, let's throw that back. All right, so now that we've gone through and we've cleaned up some of this noise, super simple, nothing groundbreaking yet. We're just gonna highlight this entire section and we are going to consolidate it. That's Shift Option 3 if you're using Pro Tools, and boom, we never, ever, 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 ever have to worry about that noise ever again. It's done, completed, move on. So we are going to take this approach down the line with these other vocals here. So we have another group of main vocals. Let's just group them up and do the same thing. Look at all this noise here. This is so unnecessary, not good. We're gonna solo this. I remember we actually tracked this vocal maybe 5 feet back from the mic to kind of get a little bit of to get some distance. Cool. Cool. All right, we're just going to consolidate that. Boom. Never worry about it again. We now have these 2 vocals. This is what they sound like.
Tail side up. How many times we gotta break until we bend?
Nothing groundbreaking yet. We're just going to keep moving forward. I might fast forward some of this because it's just a lot of redundant stuff. One thing to note here is I've selected the take, but I did not commit the fade here. That is not good on my end. So we are dealing with these harmonies here. So I'm going to just solo this track and we are going to listen to this. Obviously you can hear a pop and a click, and oh, would you look at that. Would you look at that? It's going to be tough to get a fade there, so we're going to jump to our polyphonic tool. We're going to make sure this is in ticks, and then we are going to cut here, and we're going to pull this across, then we're going to pull a fade on here, and we're going to just drag that back. We're going to heal that, and let's listen to this. Alright, that's perfect. That's a nice transition, very natural. We're going to just jump down here and do the same thing that we've been doing. Boom. Super simple, just like that. Look how pretty that is. No one's going to see this but you. But now there is no dead space in those vocals. It's nice and cleaned up, and you never have to worry about it ever again. Very simple. Just make sure you're not cutting off the ends of words. If there's a word that ends with a D or a P or something like that, and it's held out and there's just a little bit of a D at the end of the word, make sure you don't cut that off. But other than that, super straightforward, very simple. And this is seriously important. You do not want this dead space in your mix at all, because when you compress a vocal, you're going to bring up the noise floor of all that in-between nonsense, and then you have the whole track being compressed. You might be sending your vocal to a parallel compressor, which is bringing up the volume more, and it's slowly eating away at the mix, and it's just not good. So get rid of that dead space. It's very simple, and that's how it's done. All right, now let's move on to aligning the vocals. And this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. There's a little bit more nuance to this, so this is something that you can actually improve at over time. The more you do it, you can kind of understand how you can change the feel of something by having it pushing or pulling or being directly on the beat. So yeah, let's jump into it. First thing we're gonna do is we are going to actually mute everything here. We're just going to take this main vocal. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a listen to this main vocal in relation to the instrumental take. This is a very crucial part of lining up the vocals, because this main vocal is going to act like the anchor for everything else to be time aligned with. It'll make sense in a second. We're going to listen to the instrumental track with the main vocal, and we're just going to get a feel for how it's feeling.
How many times we gotta break until we bend? And she said, I never wanna see you again.
Cool. All right, so what I'm hearing is in a couple sections, it feels like it's rushing a little bit. So let's go through and let's just kind of inspect what's going on here. So if we make these waveforms big, you can see that that's probably supposed to be nudged a little bit forward. That can come forward a little bit. And, you know, that can come forward probably a little bit. And let's just start clicking through. All right, so what I like to do is I like to enter the TCE tool, or use the TCE tool, which stands for Time Compression Expansion. And I want to make sure that my track is in monophonic and that it's set to ticks. And what that allows me to do is I can actually take the vocal and I can stretch it like this. And it's so nice because you can really kind of dial in the groove and make it as tight as you need it to be. So I'm just going to heal that, and we're going to jump in. We're going to get another listen and check it out.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
So I'm going to cut here and here. This first section here just feels like it's rushing. So I'm going to use this as kind of my visual cue and start there. We're going to just pull that forward so it's on the beat. And that pulls that a little forward. And let's see how this section sounds. Just with this whole section kind of nudged forward a little bit.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
It's feeling better. All right, let's keep moving forward. Let's just pull this a touch forward. We're going to pull this just a teeny touch forward. Check this out.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
All right, that's feeling better. We're going to pull this just forward ever so slightly.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
That's feeling better. This break, I feel like, let's hear it over here. Let's see what that sounds like.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
And this is the last thing.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
That's feeling so much better. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to go down here. I'm going to take an original of this and just throw it down here in the playlist so we can compare it. So let's see what the original sounded like.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
So it just sounds like that first half is rushing. The second half, not really much of a problem with that. And let's hear what it sounds like with just a little bit of moving the pieces around.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
So that's already feeling better for me. So let's go through, and now we're going to just kind of close these gaps. And what I like to do, I find the most natural sounding way is using this TCE tool and just kind of finding like, all right, let's chop here and let's pull this forward just a little bit. Let's pull this right up to there, boom. All right.
How many times we gotta break until we...
And let's just cut here and pull this forward. Whoop, just like that. So that's feeling good for me. This track is a little bit of like a groovy track, so I'm okay if there's a tiny bit of push and pull. I'm not trying to like neuter this and make it super tight to the grid. It's just getting it to feel good, and that's something that takes a little bit of time to understand. I'm feeling good with that. Let's go forward and let's chop up this second section, drag it down here so we have our reference. We're gonna listen to it, and then we're gonna nudge it around, and then we will go from there. All right, so let's listen to the second half and do the same thing.
And she said, I never wanna see you again.
Interesting. Let's listen to that one more time.
And she said, I never wanna see you again.
All right, not bad, not bad. We're gonna pull that forward.
And she said, and she said,
I feel like there's a little bit of rushing just in these first couple words here, so I'm just gonna slow it down and listen to the track half speed. If you listen to it at half speed, obviously it exaggerates the distance if it's off the groove, but that actually felt pretty decent at half speed. So let's listen one more time. Maybe I'm playing tricks on myself.
and she said, and she said,
I just wanna, I'm gonna cut it here and just pull it back ever so slightly.
and she said,
Boom, just a little bit. Feeling good. Let's keep moving forward.
and she said, now,
This feels a little rushed, so let's pull this.
now.
Interesting. Let's go ahead and let's stretch this breath out. I don't think the issue is where the breath starts. I think it's the length of the breath that feels rushed. So we're going to try something wacky here. I'm going to just make this big, and yeah, let's pull this forward a little bit. Let's pull this forward a little bit, but let's also just drag it out. And we're also going to drag this, and let's see how that feels.
And she said, I never.
That's good. The next part now feels a little rushed.
And she said, I never wanna see you. Never. And she said, I never wanna see you again.
This whole thing can just get a little bit of this going.
And she said, I never wanna see you again.
and we are going to grab there, and we're just going to pull that shut.
Never wanna see you again. And she said, I never wanna see you again.
All right, so let's listen to this whole thing together now that we've made these kind of really micro adjustments that change the feel of the vocal timing. Be sure to close your eyes when you're listening because it's super easy for your eyes to play tricks on you. If you know there's an edit there, you're gonna hear an edit there, but if you listen to it and you don't feel like there's an edit, then life is good. So close your eyes and give this a listen.
How many times we gotta break until we bend? And she said, I never wanna see you again.
Cool, cool, the break.
Break.
I'm gonna just pull that even farther forward.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
Feels good.
And she said, I never wanna see you again.
The never feels just a little weird, but I think that's because of the gap.
I never wanna see you again.
Cool. So from there, I'm going to just apply a fade across the whole thing, and we're just going to listen through it.
How many times we gotta break until we bend? Times we gotta break
Just pull this across, give that a fade.
to break until we bend. And she said, I never wanna see you again.
All right, so I threw some fades on it. Let's give this a listen.
How many times we gotta break until we bend? And she said, I never wanna see you again.
Lovely. Okay, so that's feeling good. Again, there's a little bit of groove to it, but I think it feels right, and that's what's most important when you're dealing with the vocal timing. Let's go ahead and just kind of consolidate that. All right, so now that we feel good about the main vocal timing, I'm going to show you how I go about getting the other vocals to sit in time with it. And this is where it takes a little bit of thought. So in this instance, in this context, we have the main vocal, we have two supporting vocals on it, we have some harmonies, and then we have a group of gang vocals. Now the gang vocals, I'm not going to worry about the timing. I think the looseness of it adds to the liveliness of the track. If I were to try and get the gang vocal to be super tight with the main vocal, it would kind of ruin the effect. But the supporting vocals and the harmonies, I want those to be locked in timing wise, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get these first two supporting vocals in time. And what I'm going to do here is I am going to just make a cut like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come here, I'm going to cut here and just mute this breath for a second. And then I'm going to come down here, cut and cut. And then I'm going to just fade that in. And again, we're going to mute these breaths. And then I'm going to come up here, highlight this section, and I'm going to open up a tool called Vocaline. And I use Vocaline Project. This plugin is worth every single penny. I bought this actually for this specific project because there were so many vocals across the whole thing that if I went through and tried to time align every single vocal file, it would have taken me like a week to do. So I bought this plugin. It's been worth every penny. I use it on every single project. I can't recommend this enough, and you will see why. Again, just to recap, we have this main vocal here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, hit guide, hit capture, and that's just going to capture it into this plugin here. Then I'm going to highlight the same section from the same distance to the same distance, and then I'm going to go to dub, hit capture. That's going to create this little line here, and that shows me that it is going to line up this vocal to be in time with this vocal when I press this button. Boom, just like that. Now I'm going to do the same thing down here, capture it on the dub, hit spot, and boom, it's there. Now I'm going to undo the mute on the breath, and I'm just going to heal the section. And what I've effectively done is eliminated the breaths on the supporting vocals. I don't want them in there. That's just kind of a stylistic thing that I do. I find when you have like 10 breaths all at the same time, it just gets kind of annoying. So I have the breath on the main vocal, and then the supporting vocals don't have them. And that all together sounds like this.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
I'm just going to make those all the same volume, play it again.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
And let's just quickly undo that. This is what it sounds like without.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
So you can hear that it's actually a really tightly tracked vocal. Dimitri, the singer, did a great job. But it's 2020 and we like making things real tight. So you can see
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
that feels so good. We're gonna do the same thing over here. I'm not gonna talk through this one. I'm just gonna do it and you're gonna see how fast you can go about doing this. So.
She said, I never wanna see you again.
I'm okay having these breaths in there, but boom, just like that, we'll just drag this out and delete this fade, doesn't need to be there. And we have perfectly in time supporting vocals. I'm gonna commit this, we're never gonna think about it ever again, and
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
it is literally perfect. Now, we're gonna go through and we are just gonna take these harmonies and we're gonna do the same thing. So let's get these up here. I'm gonna just throw the harmonies underneath the main track and we're gonna open up vocal line again. I know I just closed it, but here we go. Open up vocal line. We're gonna be in grid. We're gonna cut and let's, go right on the grid here. Cut that, just throw a tiny little crossfade. Cut here, here, here. So I'm just highlighting the section in which there are backing vocals that I wanna line up. If I were to put this whole thing into vocal line, it would assume that these vocals are supposed to go over here and it would mess the whole thing up. So this is just a workflow that I found that works for me. I'm gonna hit guide up here. I'm gonna hit dub, spot, and boom, everything's good. Same thing down here. And without thinking too much, let's listen to this and see if it worked.
We gotta break until we bend.
Perfect. And let's get these guys down here all together.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
Amazing. Amazing. We're gonna do the same thing over here. All right. So I got the main vocal in time here, and then I got the other vocals in time with the main vocal, and then I got obviously the harmonies, and it even works on different voices as long as the performances are close enough and the phrasing is good. Things that will mess this up are if the singer puts a breath in a weird spot where they didn't have a breath in another place, so make sure that you are paying attention to that when you're tracking. Anyways, this is what all the vocals sound like, just time aligned.
How many times we gotta break until we bend?
And then the ending here.
She said, I never wanna see you again.
And lovely, just like that. And I can go ahead over here and confidently just cut this out without worrying about creating pops or clicks because I've already gone and cleaned up the vocal. You can see that there is no audio over there. Okay, so that is that. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing down here for these other vocals. I am not going to do it for the gang vocal. The reason why I'm not doing it for the gang vocal is because I want it to be loose. I want it to be lively. That is an artistic choice. All right, so that is going to conclude part 1 of vocal editing. This is a process that I apply to every single track that I work on, and a lot of times I actually do it while tracking. So let me just recap. The first thing you're gonna wanna do after you've selected your takes, which you should do while you're tracking, is you are gonna go through and you're gonna clean up the unwanted noise in the vocal tracks. You gotta be careful of breaths, you gotta be careful of the end of the words. You don't wanna destroy the performance or add any kind of like weird artifacts into it. You just wanna clean up the excess noise, consolidate it, and never worry about it ever again. So in a song like this, there will be a verse part that has the main verse vocal, there will be the chorus that has the main chorus vocal, and maybe the bridge as well. I will go through and I will time align those specific parts. Make sure that the groove feels really good on those vocals, and then any of the supporting layers, so whether that's doubles or harmonies or anything like that, I will time align using vocal line to get them in time with it. It works really well. Some production styles may lend themselves to having a more organic or looser double or harmony performance style to it, which is okay, but for stuff like this, it's great when it's totally locked in. So I'll clean up the vocals, I'll time align them, and then I will move forward and timeline everything else, and then the next step will be tuning the vocals. Alright, so I hope you learned something in this video. If you have any questions, if I move through this too fast, or if there's any scenarios that you've run into that you don't know how to navigate through, please leave questions and comments in the comment section down below, and I will address them in the next part. So in the next video, I'm going to jump into this section here. I'm going to talk about my vocal tuning. Do I use Melodyne? Do I use Auto-Tune? Do I use both? You'll find out. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Cory Bergeron. You've watched Cory Bergeron Recordings. I will see you in the next video.